Greetings, awesomes. How we doing? Welcome to I guess our resume writing tips. Resume writing tips using not using tabs, but using tables. If I can talk today. All right. All right. Don't use tabs. Use tables. All right. Control the document. Right. I can't. It's hard to not say it enough. Okay. To really understand what's going on here, right? So, um, so the main thing is when you decide, or as you're putting your resume together, and I say don't use a template, but let's say that you saw a template, right? You looking at some, or maybe you've used one in the past and you really like the way that it's laid out. You can use that for inspiration, absolutely. But I encourage you just take it as a sample, right? And then recreate it on here so that you can be in charge of stuff. Because what oftentimes happens, someone will use the template but not understand necessarily everything that's going on in the background. Perhaps a lot of the advanced features are being used that Word has put in, or even Google Docs. And you type one thing too much and then everything gets off askew and it's hard to get back, and you really end up spending a heck of a lot more time trying to make the template work for what you're trying to say, right? Because that template is designed very specifically to put in X number of characters, right? At X number of words, at X number of this, and this kind of spacing. And not necessarily every single thing that you're going to want to do is necessarily going to fit in there. So I cannot stress enough here again, do not use tabs. Tabs don't translate, okay? Tables sometimes are the safer bet, especially when it comes to scanning systems that a lot of companies are using. This here, right? This is I'm using the justify feature, if you will, right? You center justify all three of these lines, okay, versus tabbing over and trying to make it look right or work. This here is just, that's the plain solid underline, right? That's very, very, very straightforward. Right here again, as I mentioned in the last video, right? I've got a certain font that I'm using for my headings. I have another font that I'm using for everything underneath those main headings, right? So in this case, I have so let's go down here and look again, right? So I've got Helvetica, bold 12 font, 12 point font. And then I have Times New Roman 12, bold and italicized, right, for this next level, right? So under education, this is one of them, right? Notice the same thing happens down here with work experience, right? So I'm going to list out work experience, right? Work experience, 12 point, Helvetica, bold, right? Right? Then the first subheading, if you will, right, under work experience, right, is the same as it for my work experience as it is for education. It's Times New Roman, 12 point, bold, and italicized. Okay. Then, depending on what information needs to come up from there, so consistent with skills, I didn't need a subheading for skills. These are the skills. Now, let's say in your case you needed your particular job. Let's say the job ad that you're looking for, they're looking maybe for specific skills in two specific areas, and you wanted to then delineate that and put those in those kind of columns. You could do the same thing by adding a header tab, right? Put another 2 columns above here, and it would be very, very simple, right? All you'd have to do is just use this same font like that's Awesome University is used in Independent Outdoor to head up these two lists, and then that way you would be able to show and demonstrate the hierarchy. Under skills, I've got these things happening, right? And so here's one for computer programs, and here is one for platforms, right? And you could have those lists underneath there, right? Then again, same thing here, right? This is subheading of work experience. Here's the name of the company, or my position title. Here is the range. Here are the skills, right? Not a lot of these skills: assisted accounts payable, receivable, planned graphics for all boards, or whatever it is, right? lot of these should be some of the same keywords that are in the job ad, right? Same thing with this one. Okay, showing experience. All right. References I always put available upon request unless the job ad says specifically provide minimum of 2 or 3 requests, references or something like that. Then obviously you would add that on there, and that could potentially bleed onto a second page, or could be the second page if they've asked for something very, very specific. Notice how I tried to keep it condensed, not a lot of wasted white space, except maybe here and maybe here, but most, you're not necessarily looking to fill every single space either, but you want to try to have it looking very, very nice and neat. So use these tables, bring them in, right? Start off. It may take you a second. Okay. It took me a while to figure out, okay, do I need 3 here? Is this a 3 column by 2? Here's a 2 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. And then I needed to add a bullet point. So sometimes that happens, right? You just keep playing with it until you get it, but you're in control of the document, right? You can erase the tab structure, if the table structure that you brought in the columns, you want to change it from 2 to 3, you simply, since you're in charge of it, you can just start all over, all right, and build it from there. All right, I hope you find that helpful, guys. It really does make a considerable difference. You may spend a little bit more time up front, but once you get your hierarchy set, and once you get the tab set, the table set in there, and avoiding using tabs and then having to hit the space bar to try to make, you don't have to worry about anything lining up. It will line up for you. All right. This is, I don't know. I just encourage you guys to do it. It'll make it so much easier for you. If you have any questions about that, let me know. If I get some specific questions from anybody, if there's a specific area that you're having issues with or whatever, then I'll let everybody know.